singer, but also my friend. Adam Lambert is with us, and he is a proper rule breaker. He started his career, on American Idol, where his incredible theatrical vocals won him second place, which he was robbed, and flung him to overnight success. By 2012, he sold millions of records and became the first openly gay artist to top the charts in America, and that is such a significant milestone and requires such courage from Adam in everything from the way he dresses, talks, sings, performs, and since then, he's performed with Queen continuously, stepping into the legendary Freddie Mercury's shoes with the, to tour with the band, and that's been going on, I think, for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God, time flies. Please welcome Adam Lambert.
Michelle Visage's Rule Breakers.
Hi, Dollface.
Hi.
How are
so
you?
Good to see you.
So good to see you. You look really good, considering.
Thank you. Thank you, considering the 4 hours of sleep
Exactly.
I think I got. Yeah.
Are you able?
So do you, by the way.
Oh, please.
She is snatched.
You've got more makeup on than me today, Chuck.
I'm painted for TV.
Do you
can't
paint
see
yourself?
It. Yes.
Do you
yes,
really?
I love it.
You're really good at it, Adam.
You know what I mean? When you're like, it just puts you in the zone when you're like,
100%.
You know how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, but not everybody's good at it.
There are days when I'm not as well.
Did you learn along the way? Did somebody teach you?
I think I've learned a lot along the way. Yeah, I remember being like an adolescent going from theater makeup, which I was fascinated painting my face for shows, and then like starting to flip through magazines and get into like fashion makeup, and I thought that's kind of cool. I want to play with that, and then doing makeup on my friends, and
you do that too.
I did.
Can you still
then.
could you paint your friends as well as you paint you?
It's been a while. Like I don't paint friends very often, but. Every once in a while, I get a little inspired. And
in my world, that's the new definition of friends with benefits. If they can paint me, okay?
Paint me. I've painted my boyfriend's face. He's like, show me how you do it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that you're here so we can talk. Rule Breakers is going back to the beginning in California, where Adam Lambert was just a little boy, and we know you from American Idol. That's where it all started. But it started before that because you were always a theater kid, weren't you?
Yeah, for sure.
And your love for theater started where?
I grew up in San Diego. Mom and dad, it was a very musical household, like lots of records being played. Neither one of them were actually really into musical theater, though.
What did they like?
They Dad was into like prog rock from a lot of 70s centric stuff, bands, Bowie and
Queen.
He wasn't actually as into Queen. I think there was a Queen album somewhere, but he wasn't necessarily a Queen fan.
Okay.
But obviously, like anybody had respect for Queen because they were like Queen.
Yeah.
And Mom listened to actually some more on the soulful side. Like she was really into Al Green, and they had like Bob Marley records. It was a very like diverse musical household.
No traditional Jewish Barbra Streisand, Neil Diamonds?
No. Mom was into Cher. She liked Cher a lot.
Yeah.
And I've seen pictures of her in the mid-70s, and she literally like her girlfriends and her all had the Cher hair, ironed, the pencil thin eyebrows, lots of mascara. It was the look,
Well, we all wanted to. I'm not quite of the age, but I remember I was the same age as Chaz. We were born. Yeah. So I remember, and I was adopted. So I would watch the Sonny and Cher show, and I would think that Cher was my real mother. I would identify with her. I didn't know why.
Yeah.
But Cher has that kind of stronghold on everybody that sees her.
Yeah.
You want to be her.
I mean, she was like, she still is. I mean, she's just like
100%.
Awe-inspiring.
Yeah, I agree. So you grew up in this kind of music-loving household. When did you first know, when I open my mouth, this happens?
Well, when I was an infant, I screamed like nobody's business, apparently, and I would just scream and scream and scream until I got the bottle. So maybe it started there.
Yeah, it sounds like
I think it probably did. When I was a kid, every year for Thanksgiving, we were spending most of that time with my mom's side of the family, and her brother, my uncle David, was very funny. The whole family was very funny. Jewish family, very colorful, very
loud,
silly. You know, and we would make these movies together every year around Thanksgiving when the whole family would get together.
How fun!
And they would just be like a parody of whatever popular movie was out at the time or a TV show. I think that's where the showbiz bug first kind of bit me.
Did Uncle David? Did he like direct this? And
yes, Uncle David was like the
Spielberg.
patriarch. Yeah, exactly. And he's very funny, and he would write these silly scripts, and we would all sort of improv together. And it really, I mean, when I look back on it now, I'm like, I think that was like a big thing for me. it being the thing that brought us together. It was playtime for the family. It was us using our imaginations, getting to play dress up. It was like kind of everything I'm still into. And then after that, we would do that every year. So I was naturally into that. My parents tried to put me into a couple sports programs over the years. Not really, didn't really
work.
take. Yeah. Like I was in indoor soccer. I made one goal after about 2 weeks, and I was like, okay, I quit.
Yeah.
My dad was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I did the goal. That's all I want. And I wanted the shin guards. That's it.
Which come in handy these
And
days.
those big socks were very, I thought that was a look.
It was
It
back
still
then.
is,
Yeah, I love that.
So then they put me in a children's theater group.
There you go.
When I was about 9, I
Okay.
think. And it was outside of school. It was on the weekends in San Diego. And it just clicked. I just loved it.
Do you remember the first show you ever did?
You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
That's a great
Yeah, I was
show.
Linus with the
Oh,
blanket.
That is a wonderful show to start with. You were
Yeah,
Linus,
I was
and then the
Linus.
bug really hit you.
It hit. I mean, it was an interesting company because they would cast multiple kids as the same part. So you would...
Because you were children.
Yeah, you were kids. They wanted everyone to have a turn. All the parents are paying way too much money for their kid to be
Right.
a part of this thing. And
Right.
it was competitive. It was really competitive.
Sure.
So you'd be sort of competing to be the best one up until the show was about to open. And then, the tech week they would decide the show schedule. Who gets the big Friday night show? That's like the premiere. Who gets the Saturday night? That's second place. Who gets Sunday matinee? And we would compete. And I think that also helped me a lot because it kind of made me, if you want something, you got to win.
Listen, everybody that participates deserves acknowledgement,
Yeah.
but not everybody that participates deserves an award.
trophy,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
There should not be a 15th place. It
No.
should be, you did a great job, work harder, get better.
It's called
And
character building.
that's
like, how are
it.
you supposed to get better?
Pay your freaking dues.
Yes, 100%.
Practice.
Yes.
That's why I suck at saxophone. Because I didn't practice. And I
Yeah.
remember playing a reed instrument with gum in my mouth, and my teacher would be like, you got to spit the gum out. I'm like, no, I don't. So I was last chair the whole time.
Helps with my tone.
I loved it. So then you start doing these musicals. Did that transfer over? So you were 9, so you were in elementary school. What happened when you got to like middle school and high school?
I stayed in that children's theater group for years. When I got to middle school, so grades 6, 7, 8, that was a tricky time for me. Obviously everyone's going through puberty, their bodies are changing. That's when boys and girls get really mean to each other. And I noticed very quickly. I was like, oh right, I'm different than some of these other boys.
Were they taking it out on you?
I wasn't really bullied, but I
good.
also was. I think I was keenly aware of how to avoid bullying. So I kind of kept to myself. I was withdrawn, because I knew I was different and I didn't want to be bullied. And I was kind of avoiding any sort of conflict. On the weekends, on Saturdays, I had friends in the theater group.
Aw.
But outside of school, I was a bit of a loner for those years. And I would come home and put on whatever Broadway soundtrack that I was obsessed with at the time and dress up and sing along and act it out. I mean, it was literally, I was in my own world.
Which ones did you love?
Oh, I was in elementary school. I was obsessed with the Phantom of the Opera.
Well, I mean, it's a great one.
I mean, come on.
It's a great one. That note that Christine hits is out of control.
And I could hit it.
I know you can, Adam. I can't, but you can.
I worked very hard to hit that note.
Yes, you did.
But yeah, it was like shows like that, lame. It was like the, late '80s, early '90s. Les Mis.
Yes.
Didn't really get into cats.
Chess?
I got into chess later. Yeah, I like chess
You'd
a
be
lot.
great in
I
chess.
did a production of chess
Yeah,
later.
of course, I could call it.
I love that score.
Yeah.
I love it. But anyway, so it was like musical theater, and then as I got into high school, the first year of high school was a little awkward. There were 2 girls that I had met doing these shows, and we were all going to the same high school, so they were my 2 best friends.
Okay.
And I was the little puppy following them around because they were a year ahead of me. So, literally at the end of lunch period, they would go and do girl time in the bathroom for the last 10 minutes. And I just would be sitting out there waiting outside the bathroom. I was such a little shy nerd. But I slowly kind of found my way when I was in high school and making friends and getting confident and getting involved in more and more activities, which I felt gave me a chance to shine and kind of do my thing. And I eventually kind of grew into myself in high school and got involved in the theater there and the choir department. And as high school started to develop for me and I started to become more confident and sort of grow into myself, I started taking voice lessons with a woman named Lynn Broyles. who was amazing, and she became such a big mentor for me. She knew I was a little gay boy. She had come up in San Francisco doing community theater out there. She had done the LA thing. She was auditioning. She was like a session singer, all this stuff. She knew who I was.
Right.
And she really gave me such a safe space to express myself.
Love that.
She started a little like community theater troupe as well as the voice lessons she was teaching people, and we would do scenes and pieces from different shows, and she just let me do my thing. I mean, we did a scene where from that there was this off-Broadway musical called Ruthless, which was,
I love Ruthless.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be Sylvia.
Of course you did.
And she was like, okay. And so like it was the first time I had this like
music isn't great, but it's a cute show.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But it was just like she just gave me space.
That's
just be,
what kids need.
Yeah, she gave me like space and approval, and she thought I was hilarious. So I got the attention that I was
you are
craving.
funny.
I thought I was.
You are funny. I don't know if people know that really comedic side. The Lamberts do. The people that
Maybe,
are your fans and your followers, but you're actually quite funny and you love a good laugh and you're very boisterous, and I love that about your personality. So Lynn gave you a safe space and knew that you were this little queer boy, but did you know this, and did your parents know this?
My parents have always been really cool. I'm fortunate. So I hear so many terrible stories of young queer people that have terrible family situations, and my heart goes out to them. That's awful.
Yeah.
I was in the closet because I kind of didn't want to deal with it. Didn't want to deal with anything. When you're that age, you like don't want to deal with anything awkward. So I just kind of put it away. I wasn't playing at being straight. I didn't have a bunch of girlfriends. I wasn't pretending.
Also, watching American Idol, I don't think there was.
So it was like it was like an obvious kind of thing. When my parents caught me playing with mom's makeup, it was like, okay, we get it. We get it. I finally, like at the end of high school, I kind of figured to myself, I'm like, this is like the late '90s. It was just a different time.
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna wait until I'm done with school, and then this is something I'm going to open up about and live.
So you went to college, didn't you?
Well, I was enrolled in college. I was so involved in so many little outside activities that my grades in high school they weren't great.
They suffered.
Yeah, and I didn't do all the stuff that you got to do to get into like the really good schools. I was kind of like, I want to go just do what I want to do.
The musical theater thing, I get it. It's my major in college. I did all that. And recording was always kind of like, well, I want to be like Madonna, so I'll do anything Madonna does.
I mean, I want to be like Madonna
We
too.
all
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, exactly.
I still do.
Yeah.
When did recording get on the radar?
It's crazy because looking back on it now, like I was singing all the time, but like I didn't really know what I was doing. It was like kind of, it was very musical theater. It was very loud all the time. I didn't really get it. But I remember there was a friend I made during these children's theater things, and as I got older in that company, I became like a student director. So I was teaching the younger kids different choreography.
15?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was, it's like a junior camp counselor kind of
Got
a
it.
vibe. And one of the other girls that had kind of risen up through the program, she and I became friends, and her dad played guitar and was kind of an old hippie. And my dad's sort of an old hippie, and our parents really liked each other, and we like went to parties at their house and stuff. And so then for fun, we just ended up like getting together on weekends and recording these songs that her dad had written.
And where are you recording them?
In my dad's, in my garage, in my dad's like man cave room.
And you had a recording studio?
Well, at some point in my childhood, my dad formed a band with his buddies at work.
Okay.
I mean, they literally only played like house parties of their
love
friends.
that.
He played keyboards, and so he's an engineer, so he's got all these like nerdy, he's got a microphone and a reverb box, and there was like a 4-track like tape thing that you could do like multi-tracking. So I started playing around with that stuff like when I was bored, and then her and I started recording. So that was kind of the first time I was like playing it, like let's make a song,
Adam, I remember watching Idol, and we'll get to that obviously in a minute, and going, this is anybody here? This guy, and I was on the radio. What year was it?
2009.
2009.
Yeah.
So I was on the radio in Florida, and I remember going, guys, this kid right here is the winner. Like, first of all, losing is the new winning. You don't have to be a winner for success anymore. Yeah. Honestly, the people that come in 4th, 5th, whatever. You came in second to, I think, Chris Allen?
Yeah, Chris Allen, yeah.
No. You absolutely won that show, but you were outed when you were on that show.
Yeah, kind of before the show started.
Was there a threat? Was it extortion? Was it blackmail?
What was it? No threat. It was very weird. from high school and then being enrolled in college and not and dropping out after a couple weeks because I wanted to work and be in theater. So that was from 18 to about 26. I was in LA doing like semi-professional productions of things. I was, moonlighting. I did some session work. I had a band at some point that was we were really bad. It was like me, like these guys wanted me to be in their metal band, and I was like, okay,
you could do it.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, okay, let's try it.
You could vocally do that.
So there was that, and it was with Madonna's guitar player, Monty Pittman.
No way.
Yeah, we had a band together for a while. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So I mean, I did all sorts of random things, singing gigs, this, that, and the other thing. I had a cruise ship.
You did cruise ship?
Yeah, for a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
You're paying your dues.
Yeah, exactly. I got my equity card doing a show in Texas, and I was auditioning for things. Anyway, so I ended up doing Wicked, the musical. I got into the first national tour of Wicked as the understudy for Fierro. I was in the company for about 6 months. By the end of the 6 months, I was like, I'm sick of being in the ensemble. This is boring.
I understand that. You're a star.
I was bored. And I left the company and then ran out of money. Very quickly. Fell in love with my first boyfriend. Was like all in that world. I got into an interesting scene going to like Burning Man and raves and, another whole other crew of people that I found myself in.
Yeah.
And long story short, I got back into the LA production of Wicked a couple years later when they opened. Did that for a couple years, and then I was ready to audition for Idol.
So how did you find out about the audition?
I mean, I knew, I was a fan of the show.
So did you seek it out?
Well, the year that I auditioned, the summer before, I was at Burning Man, and I was having a mind-expanding experience.
Meditation, of course.
Yeah, meditation, yeah.
Yes.
Where I literally saw my fear.
Which was?
I was scared of everything. Okay. I was so scared of things. I was scared of rejection. I was scared of failing. I was scared of putting myself out there, of the what ifs. Well, what if this? I had so much fear that was keeping me from success, keeping me from joy, keeping me from all this stuff. And I literally, in this moment, saw it all in front of me.
Wow.
In this, it manifested to this, dark ball of, bad vibes.
And you knew what it was when you saw the ball?
I felt it. And I literally saw it, and I just kicked the ball, and it went and I saw it fly all the way across the desert.
Now, did you physically kick it, or did you metaphorically?
I physically kicked it.
Kids.
Because, you're seeing
this
things.
Is Burning Man, yeah.
This is Burning Man. I was alone. I was out in the middle of this playa, this area in the desert. I had put my kickstand up on my bike, and I was laying on the floor looking at the sky when this was all happening. And
wow.
So I was out there for 2 hours going through it, and slowly but surely I kind of came to my senses and started wandering around. And ever since that moment, it was like, oh, it's as simple as that.
You lifted it.
It's so magical that it happened that way for me. But it literally, I remember walking around going, so much easier than it needs to. Why this life's so much easier than I was making it. What? And from that week, I came home and I realized I need to throw myself into everything. I need to say yes to everything. I need to just put my eggs in all these baskets, and then something will finally happen.
Love that. I also love you're talking about fear, because I understand that. Even my kids, when I would say, be careful when you go here because X, Y, and Z, you can do this, but oh my God, you can die. Literally, Lily has said to me, Mom, I need you to stop putting your fear onto me. And I didn't even realize.
Yeah, we all do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's heavy, especially coming from you, who's, from what I'm hearing, really been in theater since you're 9 years old.
Yeah.
We audition for things. We don't get everything we audition for. No. So you were afraid of rejection, afraid of not getting something, afraid of failing, when that's really every single day in our industry.
Yeah, it's everything. And the other thing in our industry that we know is that with theater, it's a structured thing. You audition, you're in a company, there's someone running the show, you have a rehearsal schedule. It's all kind of laid out for you. You're basically clocking in and out, doing your job every night. To make it in other forms of entertainment, it's a lot more about creating opportunities, and it's not as like clear. So it was very elusive to me looking at it from the outside in. I like, how do I get in there? What do I do? And that's when I realized, go back in and just start throwing yourself into as much as you can.
So you get on American Idol.
And I saw the audition notice, and I'm like, well, there's one more thing I should say yes to. Let me do it.
And so you just showed up for a cattle call like everybody else?
In San Francisco at
How
the
many
Cow
hours?
Palace. I was out there for 6 hours, I think.
Stop it.
Yeah, on very little sleep with two of my good friends, and yeah, one thing led to another, and it started. Then, third round, I think, for like advancing levels of producers that you go to see.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it was like, okay, if you've made this round, now the next round will be on this date here in San Francisco in front of the TV judges. You got to quit your job.
What?
Because I was in Wicked at the time. I was in Wicked in LA. You couldn't have any professional affiliation or contract that you were a part of, like in play. You couldn't have an agent, you couldn't have a manager, you couldn't have any sort of nothing.
That's a big ask.
Because they want to own you,
Right.
And that was the deal.
Yeah.
And so I had to quit Wicked, that was like my job. This is how I was paying rent. This
And
was
you'd
my
been
insurance.
in it for years.
Years. For 5 years, I'd been working for that production.
So what did you do?
I
Well,
quit.
obviously you quit.
I was like, well,
Oh,
I've been looking for something new anyway, but it was scary. It was really scary. So walking into that TV audition, I was like, this had better work, or else
Yeah.
I am going to be so screwed.
And what did you sing?
I sang a Michael Jackson song, and they were kind of like not feeling it, and I immediately felt that they weren't feeling it, and was like, okay. I'm not leaving here without,
Blowing
so
you
what
away.
else do you want to hear?
Uh-huh.
What else do you have? And then I pulled out Bohemian Rhapsody.
yeah.
As a twist of fate. Thank God I came up with that.
And the rest is history.
I mean, how did that worked out well.
I'd say.
Yeah.
Breakers.
Going back to that thing of where you said it was safe being Fiero. It was safe being in Wicked. It was safe doing the things that you knew.
But I wasn't happy. I
Correct,
wasn't
you weren't fulfilled.
No, at all.
So one of the lessons we're going to learn from Adam and from this podcast is that in order to make change, you have to take a risk.
Yes.
It's the scariest thing you'll
Yes,
do.
but it is necessary.
100%.
You're not going to get anywhere playing it safe.
You will not.
No.
You'll be comfortable. And some people are all right with that.
Yeah.
And comfort's fine. But if you want to affect and make change, you have to take a risk.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm so, on behalf of the entire world, I'm so glad you did, because watching you through that, and I was so mad when they were trying to use the gay thing against you.
Well, to answer your question from before, so we do the TV judges thing, and then we get to the Hollywood week where there's like less of us,
Right.
and then they narrow it down finally to like a top 13.
Yes.
And we perform on TV for the first time, like a live performance. And I think that's when they narrow it down to 13. There was like 24. Then it's 13 of us that season. And
You're on that big chorus line stage with like a keyboard or something.
yeah, and we've done the thing, and then okay, this is your top 13 for the season. This is like you've made it to the show.
Yes.
Press and journalists all there taking pictures, doing the step and repeat for the first time ever.
Right.
And right before that night, I don't know what website it was. It was some blog that was popular at the time. They had these pictures from a social media site of me and an ex-boyfriend of mine at all these festivals
Aw.
in, hi-ho, club kid
Yes,
drag,
yes.
making out, being like half naked. I mean, wild, right?
Right.
I had done my thing.
You had it passed.
Yeah. And
And by the way, not a bad pass.
no, it was fun.
And
I had
that's
a
what
really
made
good
me
time.
so
Yeah.
angry.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
So the pictures came out and they were like, oh my God. And
Did they go into full damage control?
well, the thing is, the show never like freaked out and tried to discourage me from
Great.
anything. They were very cool.
Okay.
The publicist that I was working with that called me from the show was so supportive and so sweet. She's like, okay, so the pictures are out. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I guess, yeah. I mean, that's me, I'm not going to deny it. She's like, okay, so you're going to own that that's you in the pictures, and great. Okay, let me know if you want to talk through anything. Let me know if you have any concerns. I mean, it was just,
That's kind of wonderful.
it was not what I expected.
Wow.
And so I did the carpet, and I was like, yeah, that's me. Now, looking back on it now, I never went, and I am gay.
So you would have done that.
I didn't really get it. Because I've been out since I was 18.
So you didn't feel a
was out.
need, right, to have to state it.
I didn't really, looking at it now, it's very clear, like, well, that was your moment that you could have, like, proclaimed it.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was just like, what do they want me to say? Yeah, that's me in the pictures. Like, what?
How old were you on Idol?
I was 27. And I guess in the back of my mind, I'm not stupid. Like, I got what it was. Back in the day, Idol was, those auditions where people were like, terrible and they would be made fun of. That was sort of the tone of the show. And I had seen people go on that show that were queer, that were sort of not taken seriously and teased a bit.
Oh, that's true.
And it was hard when you were like an alternative queer kid on that show. So
and you were kind of still in your emo moment.
Yeah, I was fully. I mean, the flat iron,
Yes.
the full fringe. I had the fringe. I mean, at some point, some people started calling me like that. I had the Kris Jenner, Liza
You
hairdo,
did.
and I really did. I really did.
But it worked, Adam.
The K+8 bump it in the
yes,
back,
you
know.
did.
But I went into that I was like, okay, that's me. And then once you're on the show, you can't do any press. So you're sort of like sequestered and, protected.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
back then, that's how it was.
Right.
And there was no, social media wasn't really a thing yet. There wasn't, Twitter had just started, I think.
Yeah.
So there was no like access that way. So I did the whole show. When it was like the final, like last 3 weeks of it or whatever, there was an Entertainment Weekly article where I was on the cover of Entertainment Weekly, which was a gag.
Right.
Very surreal. And saying, this guy is the most exciting Idol contestant we've seen in years. And it may or may not be because he's gay.
Okay.
That was the cover of Entertainment Weekly.
I mean, first of all, you're on the cover of Entertainment Weekly.
Which was a gag.
Thank
I
you.
was like, holy, this is so weird.
Yeah.
And I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I haven't even said anything.
Nope.
And it's like all the way out there, which I thought kind of like, okay, well, they're onto it. Well, that's good.
Yeah, but also it's baiting, and that's kind of gross.
What, we know this now, but I was like, well, at least they're, taking the stance of being supportive, which is cute, could be worse. And it's the minute I got off the show, that was all the media wanted to ask me about. And
Is that annoying?
no, I was ready for it. And by that point, getting on to the final, I got signed to a record deal.
Yeah.
Like before the final even happened, they signed me.
You know what, Adam? I also feel
was
like
fine.
if you just say it, there's nothing else
Exactly.
to say.
Well, and the thing was that I was out to everybody on the show.
Of course
So
you
there was-
were.
there
You were
was no-
Fierro.
There was no like secret. I would be like, oh, this so and so movie star. Oh, he's cute. Like I was openly gay
Yeah.
with everybody.
Right.
So it wasn't like, but Ryan Seacrest wasn't saying like, what are you doing in your bedroom? That wasn't
Right.
part of wasn't part of the live show,
No.
So anyway, so I had gotten set up with a really great publicist at the time, and
Thank
he's like,
God.
don't answer the questions at the first junket. We're gonna get a cover out of this. We'll put you on Rolling Stone. You can come out there.
And did it work?
Yeah, that's what we did.
Stop
And he was smart. He was like, let's make a moment out of it. I'm like, okay.
Are you still with said publicist?
No, that was a long time ago, but he, fond memories.
I love that.
He was brilliant.
And you also, when you did the American Music Awards, I think that was like right after Idol, wasn't it? When you kissed a guy on stage.
That was a whole other. That was right before my first single came out. So it was like a year, like 9 months later. And I did not see that reaction coming because I thought, I want to do a sexy performance. My song is like about...
Like Madonna did.
Yeah, I'm like, this is what all my favorite pop stars do, kind of provocative, sexy. I want to kind of, do something a little more adult. I have dancers on stage, which I didn't have during Idol.
Right.
It's an original song. It's about like, you thought I was like sweet and innocent and I'm actually kind of naughty. And like, that was the song,
Yeah.
And so we put a number together and I did a version of the performance that I did not do during dress rehearsal.
Surprise, surprise.
Which was, a little handsier and tonguier than I, had originally shown the network. And so they were a little freaked out. There was like a Christian parent group that called in. There was, the children.
Yes.
And the network had to, kind of pause me on their network for a minute. I couldn't do GMA the next morning that I was scheduled on.
Oh, stop
They
it.
pulled me off the network. I was like banned for a minute.
Adam.
Oh, it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing. People were freaked out. And I went on to did another morning show that morning, the next morning in New York. And they said, okay, but we want to talk about the thing. And they started talking to me about it. And they showed a picture of Madonna and Britney and Christina from the VMAs a couple years before.
Yep.
Smooching. And then they cut to a clip of me and my bass player smooching. And our mouths were blurred out.
Oh, so they weren't blurred
We were
out from
censored,
Stop.
but not the ladies.
Of course.
And I was like, well, you've proven my point.
There you go.
There you go. The double standard is there.
You just walked right into
I
it.
don't really need to say anything else.
Yeah.
This is weird.
Honey, that's always been a thing. It's all right
yeah.
for women, but not for
Yeah.
men. and as long as they're femme women. So
Right.
don't even get me started
Right.
on all that. But I'm so glad that you did that. I remember it. And I just remember sitting there going, yes,
Yeah.
go Adam. Like, I feel like that's what I loved about you. That's what was drawn to you from the beginning, supporting you on the show and then some. And now, of course, we flash forward to you. I can't even believe that I'm saying you've been with Queen for 10 years.
It's crazy. Yeah,
years.
it's wild.
And that happened all from you performing Bohemian Rhapsody on the show.
And they performed in the finale that year,
remember.
and that's when we met, and it was like something clicked.
But it was years after that, wasn't it?
Well, they came onto the finale of Idol.
I remember that. But
And then,
didn't,
because I had to do my first album and my
Right.
first tour, so I had my first cycle. And when that was over, it was the MTV VMAs or EMAs. It was the European Music Awards.
Okay.
And they were going to be doing this medley, like a lifetime achievement thing, and they asked me to sing.
And that's when it started.
And that's when it started.
For somebody like you, your personality, your presence, who you are, you had to have been a massive Freddie Mercury fan because it's kind of
Yeah.
hard not to be. You know, me even growing up in New York and loving Queen, it never even the gay person that I am, the ally that I am, the person that's been in the community since 1986, I didn't put the two and two together with Queen and gay. I just didn't
Well, a lot of people didn't.
until later on.
Yeah.
But Freddie Mercury stepping into those shoes, to do it on American Idol was one thing. But to do it now as
Legit,
Queen,
yeah.
is that nerve wracking to you?
It was the first couple of years were nerve wracking for sure.
It was like pinch myself.
Yeah, well, it was just I knew what a tall order it was. I knew that the fans were going to be really protective of Freddie. They were going to look at me with a lot of scrutiny. I was going to look at myself with a lot of scrutiny. I'm the hardest on myself.
Of course.
So I was like, can I pull this off? Like, is this going to work? At first I didn't know how the band would be, which I learned very quickly. They were incredible to
Oh,
me.
I love that.
They were open arms, warm, supportive from the get-go.
Great.
It literally could not have been better in that way. But yeah, it was like a learning curve because I had a week to learn a whole show.
What?
For the EMA thing, I had a couple days with them, but that was, a 7-minute medley. Our first proper 2-hour concert, I had like a week of rehearsal with them.
Okay, that's
I
nothing.
was way overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a lot. It was a learning experience, and it taught me a lot.
What about the haters? Did they come for you in the beginning?
They still come for me. I mean, whatever. It's whatever.
At this point, it's an eye roll. But
It's not total eye roll.
yeah.
I do think, looking back on it now, coming off of Idol, I went into that show feeling very confident and very liberated, and I had kind of faced my fear, and I was like, I'm just gonna do my thing, and I was very kind of at peace with everything. And then doing the show was actually really fun. I had a great time. Coming off of the show and all of a sudden being a celebrity and being on like a bigger platform and a public figure, that was the first time I had felt really shame around who I was since I was like an adolescent.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden I was like, oh, I'm not in this bubble in West Hollywood anymore. This is like the real world. This is mainstream America.
Middle America.
Which is like, holy, whoa,
Yes.
okay. So there was lots of hate online.
Oh,
there were
really?
a lot of, especially after that AMA performance, there was just a lot of doors that closed. People that run radio were weirded out. It's, straight
Yep.
white men that
I
were
get
like,
it.
whoa,
Can't have any of that around
so
here.
it was tricky for a while, and it was scary because it kind of threw me off a lot of like my instincts and sort of the things that I knew about myself as an artist. It made me second guess a lot.
Did it?
So it was a bit of like a roller coaster there for a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like rocky there for a minute.
But you haven't stopped putting out music.
No.
I mean,
and it takes a lot to stop me.
I love that.
I mean, I definitely had my moments of like doubt or whatever, but I'm like, I've never wanted to give up, which has been good.
Good, but better for us because you haven't given up. Would you ever go back and do Broadway or the West End?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I'm working on a musical right now.
Writing one?
I'm writing a musical.
Wow.
I started it during the beginning of the pandemic.
Can you tell me what it's about?
I can tell you exactly what it's about off air.
Okay.
I'm not
Lucky
ready to
me.
give the
Sorry,
I'm not
guys.
ready to give the full tea, but I can say that it's based on a real life person. So it's
Okay.
a true story.
Okay.
Based on a true story in the 1970s in New York City. It's very queer. It's very glam, and it's
Will you be in it? Or are you just writing it right now?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
You're 41 right now?
41, yeah.
You have grown up in front of our eyes. Don't you feel at 41 years old in the music industry more in control of yourself and your destiny and your music and your sound and your look than you've ever been before?
100%.
And isn't it the most freeing thing
It feels
ever?
really good. It feels really good. I think that compare and despair thing is a real learning curve. I think
Yes.
once you stop comparing yourself to other people,
Louder, Adam, louder.
It frees you from a lot of struggle.
I agree with you.
You're your own person. There's room for everybody.
Yeah.
I had to learn that sort of like
On the job.
On the job.
You did?
Yeah.
Few things before I let you go.
Don't ever let me go.
I will never let
Don't
you go.
don't let me
We're
go.
always texting each other, inboxing each other, saying, "You free? No, you free? No." This is the first time we've been on the same hemisphere for
I
a
know,
very
for a
long time.
minute.
What one rule do you live by? Do you have a rule that you live by?
Well, I was saying earlier, like compare and despair.
Love
Like,
it.
Don't compare yourself to other people. It's only going to make you upset.
Lead to despair.
It doesn't really pay off. It's not the way. Forge your own path.
Is there a rule, the best rule that you've broken and how it changed your path?
I've broken a lot of rules. I think a lot of fashion rules I've broken.
That's okay. We continue to break
I love
them.
a faux pas.
That's what fashion is, isn't it? We learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what advice would you give to the new generation of potential rule breakers out there who look at Adam Lambert and they're like, I want to do what you did?
Even though social media, TikTok, Instagram are a vital part of this business right now, and you need to know your way around them, don't let it taint your individuality. It's a really hard thing to be able to separate what everyone's doing and what the trends are and what's popular from what makes you special and your own thing. It's harder and harder and harder because of the way things are in the media. You got to figure out where that line is and figure out what your strategy is in maintaining your identity.
That is fantastic advice. And the album High Drama is now available for download, purchase on all your major streaming platforms. Adam Lambert.
Am I the drama?
You are the drama. But baby, you've always been the drama. And that's why I get along with you. That's why I love and adore you. And I'm so happy for everything you do.
Thank you.
Your music, Starstruck, everything, Queen.
Thank you.
All of it. I just think you are the bee's knees.
I'm just holding on.
You're a hero.
I honestly just want to keep working.
You will.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just want to keep doing gigs.
Yeah, babe.
And collaborations and things like that's what it's about.
It is.
That keeps me very happy.
And it keeps us happy too because
Yay.
your talent is really
Thanks.
otherworldly. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I love you.
I love you back.
Mwah.
Mwah.